Hollywood loves showing pirates gathered around roaring bonfires on deck, roasting whole pigs while waves crash dramatically. Here's the brutal reality that'll shatter that romantic image. Lighting big fires on wooden ships was Russian roulette. One wayward spark, one gust of wind at the wrong moment, and your vessel becomes a floating funeral pyre. In the middle of the ocean with absolutely nowhere to run, nowhere to escape the flames consuming everything. But here's the cruel catch that made pirate life desperately complicated. The hot meals weren't just luxury comfort. They were essential for crew morale, health, and basic survival in the harsh maritime environment they faced daily. Cold, rancid food led to sick sailors, mutinous crews, and ships that fell apart from the inside. Pirates needed properly cooked meals to stay strong for back-breaking sailing work, but every flame meant death.
The question haunting every ship's cook wasn't what to prepare. It was how to avoid cremating everyone. Picture the reality of a pirate ship. Every surface dripped with flammable materials waiting for disaster to strike.
Tarred ropes hung everywhere like fuses, waiting for a spark to ignite the entire floating death trap. Pitch sealed every seam between wooden planks, creating a network of combustible material throughout the hull below.
Canvas sails were soaked in oils that made them burn like paper soaked in lamp fuel.
Below deck, gunpowder barrels sat, waiting to turn any fire into an explosion, scattering ship fragments everywhere. The constant rolling and pitching made everything exponentially more dangerous with each wave that hit the ship. A perfectly controlled cooking ember could roll across deck, land in tarred rope, and create blazing hell. Ship's carpenters had nightmares about grease fires spreading along wooden beams faster than men could react. The question wasn't just how to cook food, it was how to avoid boiling everyone alive.
When captains banned cooking fires during rough weather, meals became exercises in pure survival and revulsion.
Pirates choked down chunks of rancid salt pork that had been rotting in barrels for months.
The meat developed a rainbow of unnatural colors that definitely weren't supposed to exist on food. They ate ship's biscuits so infested with weevils that tapping them became a creature-shaking ritual first. The hardtack was so tooth-breakingly solid that men soaked it in seawater to avoid dental disasters. Cold, congealed fat from preserved meats created disgusting grease layers that made eating feel medical somehow. Crew morale plummeted faster than cannonballs when men survived on cold, revolting provisions day after day. Fights broke out over smallest disputes when hungry, miserable sailors had nothing warm comforting their bellies. Pirates understood fundamental truth. Crews eating hot meals could work, fight, and survive together successfully every time.
Cold, rancid food created cold, bitter men who turned on each other when times got tough.
Pirates developed their first ingenious solution: small iron braziers that could contain fire safely aboard wooden ships. These weren't just metal boxes. They were carefully engineered survival tools for deadly maritime environments.
The braziers sat on thick sand beds that absorbed heat and trapped escaping sparks from flames.
Sand provided crucial insulation, preventing fire's heat from spreading to the ship's flammable wooden structure below. Iron grates and tight-fitting lids could cap flames instantly when danger threatened the ship and crew. Adjustable dampers allowed cooks to control airflow and strangle fires by cutting off their oxygen supply completely.
These compact cooking systems operated on open deck, where ocean breezes carried smoke safely away from rigging.
Sand beds were reinforced with brick plates, creating additional barriers between controlled fire and flammable ship. This system worked remarkably well under ideal conditions: calm seas, steady winds, and experienced cooks.
But the ocean rarely provided ideal conditions, and cooking solutions had to adapt to deadly weather.
When seas got rough but crews needed hot meals, pirates deployed increasingly sophisticated safety measures, impressing engineers.
They rigged wet canvas windscreens around cooking areas to block unpredictable gusts, threatening ship safety.
Before lighting any fire, crews thoroughly soaked surrounding deck with seawater, creating wet, spark-stopping perimeters everywhere. The most ingenious innovation was gimbaled cooking rigs. Pots hung from swinging hooks, staying level. This prevented hot liquids from sloshing out and kept flames stable regardless of ship movement.
Every cooking operation required dedicated fire watch, experienced sailors armed with wet swabs and sand buckets.
Fire watches had authority to instantly extinguish any fire showing signs of getting dangerously out of control. It demanded constant attention and perfect teamwork. One moment of inattention could doom everyone aboard.
When storms hit with full fury, pirates had no choice but to completely abandon hot cooking.
Fires were either banked under damp sand or completely extinguished for safety during dangerous weather conditions. The ship's galley switched to emergency no-cook meal protocols, keeping crews fed without risking lives. Storm meals were creative survival exercises. Pickled vegetables, salted meat shavings, and rum-soaked citrus fruits available. The food was uniformly disgusting and did terrible things to already stressed stomachs during rough weather. But it kept crews alive without turning the ship into a floating bonfire in deadly storms. Pirates prepared stockpiles of foods that could be safely consumed cold during extended no-cook storm periods. But hunger made men increasingly reckless, leading to desperate attempts at lighting fires in dangerous conditions.
Pirate codes regarding fire safety were written in blood and enforced with deadly seriousness by experienced captains.
The rules were simple and absolute. No open flames below deck under any circumstances whatsoever.
Smoking pipes only allowed on the leeward side, where winds carried sparks safely away from ship.
All lanterns must be enclosed in protective cages, and tar barrels cleared from cooking areas completely.
Breaking fire safety rules meant losing treasure shares, public lashing, or being marooned, crowned, essentially death.
One pirate lit his pipe below deck. Crewmates threw him overboard rather than risk burning.
Captains understood strict fire discipline was literally the difference between having crews and floating graveyards below. The ship's cook became undisputed king of fire safety, wielding more authority than captains over flames. Experienced cooks rationed fuel, pre-salted meat to prevent flare-ups, and organized instant seawater bucket brigades. Smart cooks rewarded firewatch assistants with extra food, understanding that safety required constant attention and incentives. Legendary ship's cooks could prepare hot meals in conditions that would terrify modern professional chefs completely. Picture this dreaded emergency. Hot fat pops as waves hit, ember skitters toward rope, brazier tips. Emergency response had to be automatic. Lids slammed down, damper closed, sand dumped, embers smothered instantly. Every step happened in perfect sequence, while the ship continued rolling and pitching through rough seas. When the drill worked, meal and ship were saved. Crew ate confidently without fearing floating death. But pirates knew tomorrow brought new seas, new weather, new opportunities for fires to escape control. Life aboard pirate ships taught men that fire was simultaneously their greatest comfort and deadliest enemy.
On a world made of wood, tar, and canvas, every flame promised hot meals and threatened death.
Pirates learned to trade roaring fire luxury for controlled ember safety, accepting cold meals during danger. Successful crews understood survival wasn't about swagger. Generally, it was about discipline, teamwork, and careful attention. The most heroic thing was keeping everyone alive long enough for another sunrise, one controlled flame.